Welcome into episode 523 of the Skate Podcast. I am Brian DeFelice, joined by Bridget Brew and Scott McLaughlin. Bridget and Scott, the Boston Bruins have now won 4 games in a row, back-to-back shutout wins over 2 teams they're chasing in the standings, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, they beat the Rangers and the Flames before that, and they have won 6 of their last 7 games. Is that correct? 6 of 7?
6 of 7. Yep.
Oh,
6-7.
Oh,
What a way to start the podcast.
Bridget, can we restart recording?
We do.
But listen, it's some impressive wins over the last couple, and second time this season, the Bruins have followed up a 6-game losing streak with a strong stretch of winning hockey to kind of, negate maybe the bad that was. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that this team just keeps surprising. They're certainly interesting and been, mostly fun to follow because they do have some legit resiliency to pull themselves out of these losing streaks. Now, again, like bigger picture, is it going to be enough? Are they going to be consistent enough going forward, or is there going to be another 6-game losing streak coming up? Either before the Olympic break or coming out of the break or something like that. You don't get 3 of those in a season. That I didn't think that's like a true 3 strikes and you're out type of thing. But man, they've managed to keep themselves in it coming out of 2 of them. So that's kind of already more than I would have expected.
Scott's got baseball on the mind. He had to help with the Red Sox breaking news today, so he's going. He's bringing up baseball, but
the Red Sox are going to try to win every game like the Bruins last 2. They're all going to try to be 1-0, 3-0. They're going all pitching. No offense. Didn't need to bring back Alex Bregman. Don't need to sign anyone else. They're just gonna shut everyone out.
Well, Rowan Anthony and Marcelo Meyer should be, fully seasons of them. You'd hope that helps, but yeah, Bregman going away sucks. Can you explain the Red Sox pitching addition in hockey terms? Because I'm kind of out of the loop in terms of MLB pitchers these days. It's been a while since I paid much attention.
Ranger Suarez, so I don't know. He's like a solid 2 or 3. So call that like a second liner or top 4 defenseman, something like that.
Okay.
And like I would say like a bona fide one, not like Victor Arvidsson. We're gonna plug him in and hope it works. But
that's rude.
No, that's just reality. I'm saying like he's not that. Like he's something a little bit more bona fide than that. I don't know what the exact comparison. Maybe
Jonathan Aspirot this time next season, just bona fide.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay, sorry I mentioned baseball. We can get to our opening shifts now. I'll start because Brian, you mentioned 2 straight shutouts. Both goalies get their first shutouts of the season. Korpisalo gets the 1-0 shutout, 27 saves for him against Pittsburgh, and then Swayman follows it up with a 24 save shutout. Bruins end up winning 3-0 in that game against Detroit. So it's been a solid stretch of goaltending even prior to the shutouts, but it's good to see both of them. And I wanted to bring up a quote because it caught my ear when I was listening to Swayman last night after the game. And he said about Korpisalo, he's the best goalie partner I could ask for. And I was like, ooh, I guess you forgot about Linus already because those 2 are the best of friends. And now, Korpisalo is the best goalie partner you could ask for. So it seems like those 2 get along well too. Korpisalo really like understated, kind of quiet guy, but they do work well together. You can see that. It's just funny, like the goalie duos that we've seen recently and how Swayman thinks of them.
Yeah, why do I get the feeling that Swayman would say that about anyone? Like I think if they had to suit me up for like a couple weeks, and I gave up 18 goals a game, I think you'd still get Jeremy Swayman being like, Scott's the best goalie partner anyone could ask for.
Yeah, because he makes it so that we don't start him ever, and I get all the starts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Swayman has a way of words. That's why we had a fortune cookie segment that we're gonna have to rehatch at some point.
There haven't. I was actually talking to someone about this last night. There haven't been as many this season. It's because like every now and then I think about it and try to keep an ear out, and he's been like less zen. I think is the way I'd put it. So maybe we can still find something at some point.
I bet he'll give some good quotes over in Milan. I think the Olympics might bring some zen out of him, some perspective and appreciation and gratitude.
Some thoughts about America or nature or something. We'll see.
Is there an Italian version of the fortune cookie?
I don't know. Maybe we'll catch him by the Trevi Fountain in Rome, though, I'm sure, doing some. But so yeah, Bridget, you mentioned the goaltending and the back-to-back shutouts, and it wasn't long ago where the three of us were fielding questions, here online about Korpisalo and if they should waive him at any moment, and the answer was yeah, if he continues to struggle, because of goalies that had played at least in as many games as he had, he was at/near the bottom in terms of goals against average and save percentage. But then his last couple of starts, he's turned it around, and that's good for Jeremy Swayman because yes, it helps. First of all, it helps team production if your backup goaltender is playing well, but it helps alleviate pressure and stress on your number one goaltender, and they kind of go together. So it's important that they've played well, and the team's going to need them both to continue to play well down the stretch. Where in this Atlantic Division, you got to keep up with the Joneses by winning not every night, but almost every night for the Bruins.
Yeah, and now Sturm can hopefully find like a healthier balance going forward, where you don't end up in a situation where they got to before Christmas, where Swayman's playing in 6 games in 10 days, and then on this most recent road trip, I know there was rest in between, but he still, he tried to push it to 4 straight starts for Swayman, and that fourth one it's the only game during this 6 out of 7 stretch that A, that they lost, and B, that they didn't get great goaltending. And it's like, I don't think that's a coincidence that it happened to be Swayman's 4th straight start. So rule of thumb going forward, get Korpisalo in once every 3 or 4 games. Like, even if there's some extra rest in between, it just seems like that's, as long as Korpisalo's playing well, that works best. It keeps Swayman fresh. It keeps Korpisalo involved. I mentioned this before. Like, he had, in the span of a month and a half, had 2 or 3 different stretches of going at least 10 days between starts. And it's like, that's tough, right? Because then it becomes this kind of chicken or the egg thing where it's like, well, is Korpisalo, he's not playing well, so we don't want to play him more often than that. But then if you only start him every week and a half, he might be rusty. It's hard to stay fresh. So it works better for everyone if they're both playing well and they're using them. Doesn't have to be a true platoon. I don't think anyone's advocating for that, but use Korpisalo a little bit more than they were in December. I'll go into my opening shift, which is another thing that has gone right during this winning streak, the 4-game winning streak specifically, and that is that the Bruins are staying out of the box. 4 straight games now, they've given the opposition just 2 power plays. So 8 total across this 4-game winning streak. The penalty kill has killed off 7 of those. The only power play goal they allowed was against the Rangers, and it was already a 6-1 game at that point. So, we can get into 5-on-5 play, which has also been better during this stretch. Marco Sturm has talked about that. He said last night he thought was probably maybe their most complete 5-on-5 effort of the season. And it's not a coincidence that your penalty kill and your 5-on-5 game look better when you stay out of the box. Your penalty kill is not overtaxed, and you get to get into a 5-on-5 rhythm where you don't have guys sitting for a long time. You don't have lines getting thrown off and pairings getting thrown off. Your penalty killers getting overtaxed there and not being able to use them as much 5-on-5. Like, it all feeds together, and that this is happening, that they're playing some of their best 5-on-5 hockey right now, that the penalty kill has gone back on track. You can directly connect that to them just staying out of the box. And I know Charlie McAvoy had a good quote after Sunday's game. Bridget was there in that scrum where he said, he was asked, like, was there something you guys had to do or like look at on video to cut down on penalties? And he's like, no, you don't have to study that. We know when we're idiots. So, sometimes it is that simple. It's like, just stop doing the things that you kept getting called for.
And Sturm said, we still kind of did them a little bit. We did them a little bit like less noticeably. Like, okay, the arm was only slightly like off on someone. Like, so like almost holding, but not quite holding. Like we're doing like 30% less of the penalty. And so it ends up getting let go rather than being like an obvious thing. So he wasn't saying that they were perfect. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. You guys hit it. It's really no mystery at all, right? A disciplined team is a team that probably will have, strong 5-on-5 play. It just is what it is. And it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. Like, are you taking penalties because you're being outplayed and you're chasing the game, and then you start taking and it snowballs, or it's you have to, like, if you have to move your feet, obviously, but if you start to use one hand on the stick, it's low-hanging fruit for officials. So you have to just, and Bridget, that's kind of what you're referring to when you mentioned Sturm was like, we're guilty a little bit, but we're doing better at it. If you just defend beneath your goal line, for example, like when you have forwards that are beneath the goal line and they're stopping and starting on you, they're turning on the defenseman on, quick turns. If that defenseman takes a hand off his stick and does any sort of grab or poke or whatever, it's so much more obvious. Whereas if you just keep two hands on the stick, maybe do a little little lacrosse check, or like the refs don't call those things. So really just don't take two hands off the stick when you're defending. Like, there's a time and a place for it. Don't get me wrong. But if you're sticking your stick between their skates, or you're floating it in there in their wrist or whatever, it's like they're gonna get you every time. So, a disciplined team. No wonder their 5-on-5 play has been improved.
I just want to point out that you both have said what came first, chicken or the egg, on this podcast. And now that I just said it, all three of us have said it. So
lots of chickens, lots of eggs.
I'm hungry.
I'm getting hungry over here. Yeah,
that's a tough look. You know what? I'm gonna audible here. Thank you all very much for listening. We'll talk to you on Friday. That's a tough look by the team here. And they outshoot the Red Wings 41-24. So it was a very, very well-earned win by the Bruins. Unlike the Pittsburgh game where you had 6 or 7 power plays and Pittsburgh had 2, and they outshot you by about 10 shots. Now, you were on the second of a back-to-back and whatnot, but it was a well-earned win against the Red Wings, and they needed it. They needed it because the Atlantic Division keeps on winning. Toronto did lose last night to Utah, so that's good for the Bruins. But okay. Moving along to my opening shift, that is something I've seen floating around online earlier today. Bridget, if you don't mind pulling it up, I'll just give the spark notes and maybe you can detail. But Elliot Friedman had mentioned recently, and he's as credible gets in terms of hockey, insiders and whatnot, that the Flames are looking to move Rasmus Andersson before the Olympic break, possibly. Now, Jimmy Murphy of RG Media had an article recently talking about the Flames wanting to potentially move Andersson and linked the Bruins as a team that could be one of those suitors. And he also mentioned a potential trade package that the Bruins, in Jimmy's article, have already floated out to Calgary. Bridget, if you wouldn't mind giving that.
Yeah, his report is that a few teams have checked in on Rasmus Andersson and have made offers to Calgary. And he said the Bruins are one of them. It's Bruins, Detroit, and Ottawa are teams that are interested. And he said that the Bruins have already offered, if this is correct, Mason Lohrei in a first. So thoughts on if that, I mean, we don't know. We can't confirm any of this, but what Elliot Friedman is saying is there's a chance he gets moved before the Olympics, which it's 3 weeks away. So, if he gets moved before, like, that could be coming fairly soon. And it wouldn't be surprising if the Bruins were in on a right shot D. We've talked about how their right side it is after McAvoy. There's question marks, and you're going to be losing Andrew Peeke potentially to free agency if they don't extend him as well. So there's already that looming. So it would make sense that the Bruins have called and inquired, but if price is Lori in a first, I just feel like that's a lot. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, and Scott, I just want to put a bow on this, and before I throw it over to you, is, to my knowledge, and Bridget just read it, Jimmy's article did not specify that it was Boston's 2026 first that they, floated out there. That's kind of the assumption people have made. So with that said, we don't know.
Well, the source that Jimmy cites, and he just says it's an NHL source, does mention the Bruins pick. He says that the source says, I'm hearing that Mason Lohrei and the Bruins first round pick are in play. Now,
in 2026?
Doesn't say. And it also doesn't say if, like, those two are together. Like, if that's the package, if that's what the offer was. Like, those are kind of two separate sentences. So,
well, both would seem high, right? Do you think that?
I don't know. I think that's probably about what it takes.
Yeah,
but do you think it could be one of the other Bruins first round picks, not their own?
Well, and that's what we don't really know, and that's what I was getting at. Like, so for conversation's sake, let's say that the Bruins pick that is in reference is indeed their 2026 first round pick. Now you have Toronto's too. Is that a pick that you guys would be comfortable parting with for, albeit a need on the right side? And Rasmus Andersson, make no mistake about it, who'll be playing for the Swedish Olympic team, he is absolutely a top 4 right shot defenseman. But I got to tell you guys right here, right now, his prime lines up with the primes of Pastrnak and McAvoy and whatnot, but I don't feel comfortable moving any pick in the 2026 first round if you're the Boston Bruins. Not this draft. You want to talk about a pick in 27? You got my ears. You got my attention. I don't feel comfortable moving one of these first round picks in 26 unless it's really for just an absolute stud, can't miss player. I don't think Anderson's that. I think he's good, but I don't think he's that.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel. Is first off, there has to be an extension with it, right? Rasmus Andersson is a pending unrestricted free agent after the season. Bruins should not be going anywhere close to rentals. Like, I just don't think that makes any sense at all for this team and where they are. So right off the start, there has to be an extension in place for this to even be a conversation for me. But yeah, second thing, I would not give up the Bruins' own 2026 first round pick because that could potentially be a very high pick in a draft with a pretty good top 10. And yeah, it's possible whoever you pick never gets to be as good as Rasmus Andersson. It's also possible they end up being better. And you would get them younger, cheaper, whereas Andersson, that extension is going to cost a lot of money. Like, that's going to be a significant part of your salary cap hit going forward. Anderson's 29, as you said, so it's not like he's like already in his 30s. You are getting him in his prime, through kind of the end of his prime, depending on what the deal looks like. But I like Rasmus Andersson. I am not as huge of a fan as I think some people are, insofar as that I recognize the offensive skill, his ability to contribute in transition. He's a good skater. I have questions about whether he's really a great defender. He's also he's not a physical player. I don't know. I like him. I would like him on the Bruins. I think he fits. I think he fills a need on the right side as an offensive defenseman. Getting him would make it okay to give up Lohrei because you're immediately replacing him with a better offensive player anyways. But I just have a really hard time with that. I mean, like, let's just be honest. Like, that first round pick could be your ticket to Gavin McKenna. I know it might take some lottery luck because you're not going to finish with the worst record.
Yeah.
But like, we just saw that last year. The Islanders moved up from 10-1 and got Matthew Schaefer, who is now their franchise cornerstone. Like, by the way, like, I have questions about Gavin McKenna or Ivar Stenberg. Like, none of these guys are. No one in this draft is Macklin Celebrini in my mind, where we're talking about true, like, once a decade type of player. But there are some really good players at the top of this draft, and I'm not giving away my chance at one of them for a player that I like but don't totally love.
Yeah, and I want to mention too, like, when I'm at a bunch of college hockey games, I talk to a lot of people who are there for prospect evaluation. They're not just seeing the college guys, or they're looking at, they're going to World Juniors, they're going to USHL games, they're going all over the place scouting people who are draft eligible. And I've been told by a bunch of people this is a deep draft. So I know you mentioned the top 10 right now. The Bruins, if they picked, like, if it was to end today, they're 18th, and Toronto would be 20th pick. So they're outside of that top 10 by a bit right now. And that's what makes it interesting too with the draft pick. It's like, who's going to have a better pick? I mean, we're at the point of the season, if they want to get this done before the Olympics, that we're not really sure where Toronto's pick's going to end up or where Boston's pick's going to end up, because it could end up being, 18th, 20th. It could end up being 10th. It could end up, it could go a lot of different directions, because more likely than not, one of those two teams is going to be a playoff team. But I don't think we can say with any certainty which one it is. So like, which pick would you even want of those two? That's a whole thing. But yeah, I'm not sure if the draft goes deep enough to be saying, all right, I want the 18th and the 20th pick, because I think we can nail both of those, and like, it's going to be a home run on both, because those are, once you get past 15, things are a little bit more of a I don't want to say a gamble, but you need to kind of have a little bit of luck with hitting on some guys that you have seen, because development is only just beginning, I guess, at that age, when kids are 17, and they have a lot more growth, and sometimes it looks different after they get drafted, when they get 18, 19, 20 years old. So I know that was nothing about Rasmus Andersson, but
no, but it's a
thought.
No, it's again, it's you're talking strategy, you're talking, cost benefit analysis of potentially keeping or moving a pick, because if you're to make a deal now for Andersson, you're not talking about a time in the calendar where where you're finishing in the standings. So if you're the Bruins, to your point, Bridget, maybe you do finish, because here's the key here. Once you finish, outside of the bottom 16, right? Like, you don't have any more odds to potentially get some draft lottery odds, draft lottery luck, right? Like, you can't become Utah of last year, where you go from 14th to 4th, or the Islanders that go from 10th to 1st, if you are a playoff team. So, and if you finish with the 16th overall pick, it's like you can only go as high as, like, maybe 14th or 13th overall, or whatever the odds get to at that point. So yeah,
you can jump up 10 spots. So like, it would be a very small percentage, but like, in theory, you could go from 16 to 6.
Yeah, but you're talking like, it would be like the smallest of percentages. It's like,
yeah, it's what Utah had last year. So like, again, like, there's an example right there that like, it can happen.
Yeah. So if you're the Bruins right now, because here's the thing, you're right, Scott. Rasmus Andersson leaves some to be desired defensively, but here's the thing is, if your blue line, if your top four is McAvoy, Zadorov, and Lindholm, well, maybe you have some wiggle room for a guy in that top four that's a little bit more offensive minded than defensive minded. Like, you have three other guys that probably could bring some solid defense. where that leaves our boy Jonathan Aspirot, conversation for a different day. But you look at the Bruins prospects right now, and you did just draft James Higgins. You acquired Will Zellers in the Charlie Coyle trade. You have Dean Letourneau, who's looking to be a decent prospect right now. You have some other draft picks: Cooper Simpson, Will Moore, Blanar, like some others in college hockey.
Morello at BU.
Yeah, but there are some
Yeah,
higher prospects that you have right now that have potential that you can see them down the line, like coming into Boston at different times. Obviously, we expect Higgins in the next year. So you have those prospects, and then this trade we're talking about, theoretically, you would still have your first round from Toronto. You would still have 2 first rounds next year. But man, I don't know. There's just something about this draft. I would hate for them to end up like what their pick would be, end up being like a not franchise altering, but very, very impactful defenseman or whatever. I mean, I just think that, I don't know. It's tough though, because free agency is not the place anymore, right? Like no one's hitting nobody really impactful is hitting free agency and going somewhere else now with the cap going up constantly. So I don't know. This could be your time. This could be your time to get a sure thing in your top 4 for the next 5-6 years to come.
And Scott mentioned the important part here too is that the lining up with the McAvoy and Pasternak prime and Swayman.
Brian mentioned that.
Oh, Brian, sorry. Giving Scott credit when it should be Brian.
We'll give it to Scott.
No, he gets too much credit. I think we always give him credit. We're like, Scott, great point. And then it was Brian.
I mean, you can't help yourself, honestly. Like
I just, I felt bad. He's crying this whole podcast over there. So
allergy season.
Bridget tried to offer me some tip to get something out of my eye, and now I'm blind in my right eye. So
I told him poke it out with a pencil.
Scott's flu game over here.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and also like, because we've talked about organizationally, this team doesn't have a ton on the right side, right? Like behind McAvoy, it's like, all right, well, you signed Henry Yoki. How are you doing extension? We all think he's third pairing at best, big picture. Andrew Peak, are you re-signing him? I just long term, I don't see how Peak and Yoki, how are you both fit on this team? You really don't have any right shot defense prospects. So again, like that's where a player like Rasmus Andersson is attractive, right? I would also just point out though, this draft is really strong on defensemen. And there are some right shot defensemen if you're talking about that. I'm going to call it top 10 to 12 range because who knows how it all sorts out. But like Keaton Vierhoff's going to be near the top, right shot defenseman. Chase Reed, who just played for the U.S. at World Juniors, right shot defenseman. Daxon Rudolph. And these are all like guys with offensive talent too. Ryan Lynn, I believe, is a right shot. Like these guys are all projected to go in the top 12, maybe at worst 15 picks. So it's like if you're in that range, maybe you get your right shot defenseman there. And again, like this is the give and take, right? Because it's like any one of those guys, possible they never end up as good as Rasmus Andersson. I would also say because they're so young and their careers can go so many different ways, there's also a chance that any one of those guys becomes better than Rasmus Andersson and is like at some point pushing Charlie McAvoy to be your legit number 1 guy on the right side. So, yeah, it's tough. It's like, I think I would jump at the opportunity to do something a little less than that. Like if you told me you could get Rasmus Andersson for Mason Lohrei and Florida's first round pick in 2027,
yeah,
I'm like, absolutely. Even if you told me Bruins 2027 pick, where that's like a year out, and honestly, like I haven't started looking at 2027 all that much, I'd probably be like, all right, twist my arm. I guess I think I'd do that. It's just that like it is harder when it's this coming year. The Bruins at this moment are right in the playoff bubble where like their season could still go either way. And now like we're starting to learn more about these names that are going to go. And it's like, man, there's a lot there that I like that I don't know if I want to, throw away one of my 2 chances to be involved in this draft.
Can I throw something out there just for fun? just for fun.
Of course.
What if you took that same Bruins draft pick and Lohrei, and instead of trading for Rasmus Andersson, traded to like move up in the draft this year? Do you think that'd be a better use
You're
of
talking like
the
at the
assets?
draft?
Yeah, like, do you think that'd be a better use of those assets?
Well, and you're gonna have 2 first-round picks, so like you can try to package those. Now, that's always tough because you got to find a taker, right? Like, I mean, we heard all about the Islanders wanted to move up to try to get Hagens in addition to Matthew Schaefer. It's like, well, they didn't move up because everyone that all the teams they were trying to target to move up to liked the player who was on the board there. Pittsburgh had back-to-back picks at either it was like 12 and 13 or 13 and 14. There were a ton of rumors they were trying to move up, package those picks. Ultimately, they couldn't do it, so they had to sit and make a pick. Go back to 2015 when the Bruins had the 3 straight picks, and there were all the rumors they wanted to move up for either Noah Hannafin or Zach Werenski. Well, it turned out the teams on the board just liked those players and didn't want to move back. So, yeah, like, I think if you have multiple picks that end up saying like the middle of the first round, or you have, a young player like Lohrei who might draw some attention, yeah, like you always want to do that because you always want to go get the better prospect. It's so much harder in practice because, again, for the same reason I'm sitting here saying like, man, it'd be hard for me to trade away that Bruins pick. All those teams that are going to be on the board in this stacked top 10, it's going to be really hard for them to sit there and be like, yeah, we're going to be the team that trades out of this.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Bridget. It is. Yeah, it's difficult because, Scott, to your point, maybe the article says that the Bruins, offered Calgary Lohrei and one of their own first. We don't. If that's true,
like
we don't know what pick that is.
It's slightly unclear on like whether that was actually what they offered or not.
Sure, and again, we're talking hearsay. Like we don't know any of this for sure, but like if they did, it could be that they offered Lohrei and a 27. We don't know it's 26. We're just we're just kind of assuming. But this is why a deal like this is tough because we don't know where the Bruins are going to land at the end of the season. So like if we knew that their own pick was going to be 19th overall or 18th overall, right? Like maybe you are more inclined to move it. But if you're telling me that Boston's picking like honestly top 13 or whatever, it's like no, I want that pick. Now the flip side is who's it?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the flip side is if the Bruins do elect to keep their pick and you don't acquire an Andersson per se, like what's your blue line going into next year, right? Because like we know how difficult it is to get top 4 talent, and is it going to be more like this year where you're kind of plugging and playing outside of McAvoy, Lindholm and Zadorov? It's like you do want another big name on the blue line. So like if you don't trade for Andersson and you draft somebody but they're not ready next year, then you're kind of in a similar boat that you were this year. But there's just a lot of things to think about, and there's a lot of unknowns right now if you're the Bruins.
Well, so let me ask you this, because I think this is part of the equation too. Do you think? So you said like, yeah, if you could guarantee, the Bruins pick's going to be like around 20 or whatever. Do you think getting Rasmus Andersson makes the Bruins a playoff team? Like would you be
this year?
Would you be like that puts them into the playoffs? Like we don't have to worry about them dropping down to the, to a top 10 pick.
It's good for something. I mean, especially with the amount of injuries they've dealt with this year. Like if they're fully healthy, then and they have Rasmus Andersson, I think that's really solid. And I think it also helps if you are dealing with injuries and you just know you have another reliable guy in there if he's healthy, and say like Lindholm's not back, but like, you pair Andersson with one of your other guys on the left, and which is, a lot of guys there that could probably plug. So I don't know. I feel like it's good for a few more wins, right? Like to me, it seems like a move that would push them in the right direction. And then when you do it early enough, there's a chance that, that kind of gives you time to build up wins that you wouldn't have, like, right, if you add him at the trade deadline in March, he can only help you if your goal is to make the playoffs, just make the playoffs rather than go on a deep cup run. Like, you would rather add early than right before the playoffs because it gives you more time to, utilize the player and see the impact that the player has. So I don't know. They're middling right now, right? Like, by points, they're in a wild card spot. By points percentage, they're out of the playoffs. They've been kind of sitting there for a lot of the season. And do you think that they're one player off from, maybe not being a wild card team anymore, at least right now, and maybe being more solidly in? I don't know. It's impossible to say, but what we do know is they need a right shot defenseman. So
they do. I don't think acquiring Andersson makes them a playoff team for sure. I think what it does is it ensures that they probably won't be a bottom 10 team. Like, I think that he makes I think he keeps them. I think acquiring him heightens your chances of staying in the playoff picture and then potentially narrowly missing towards the end. But I don't think you acquire Andersson and everybody else stays healthy and you're in the running for a draft lottery pick. And I'm not saying that that's the case right now. The Bruins are playing good hockey, and they're certainly not a bottom 10 team right now. I'm curious what they are in points percentage league wide. They might be on points percentage. They might be like, it wouldn't surprise me if they were like 13th or 14th in the bottom.
For are we talking draft or are we talking about playoff position?
I'm talking like draft, like league standings 1 through 32 on points percentage, where Boston ranks right now, what their pick would be right now.
Like I said, 18.
That's points percentage or points?
Points percentage. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
18, and then Toronto would be 20th. That's what
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. Even that's without Andersson right now, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, guys. There's something about I didn't mean to spend 40 minutes on this topic, but it is polarizing because the Bruins do have the need. Andersson is young enough at 29 years old where, like, it's not like you're getting a 35-year-old. He does match up with your top players' primes, and he gives you a quick solve. But they all, like, the Bruins also need a top 6 forward. They got to draft another top 6 forward in the draft, I think. I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
I don't know if I love the idea of the Bruins picking a direction before the Olympics. And I guess what I mean by that is, like, my approach throughout this season to this point, and I know it's like not exciting, but has basically just been like, wait, just let it play out and see where you are closer to the deadline, and then decide, are you selling off pieces? Are you standing pat? Are you doing a little of both? Like, try to find someone with term while also trade away your unrestricted guys. Like, I don't think the Bruins need to make a decision on which way to go right now. But, like, if you trade your first round pick for Rasmus Andersson, you've picked a direction. Like, you're kind of going in and trying to be a playoff team, right? Like, you're kind of made that decision. And I guess I feel like Andersson, kind of to you guys' point, like, I don't think he guarantees that you're a playoff team. I don't think he helps you for sure. He increases your playoff chances, but I don't think he guarantees anything. And God forbid, like, you make that trade and then the season still goes south, and, like, now you've traded away your potential top 10 pick. God forbid, like, you have a bunch of guys going to the Olympics. Like, God forbid someone gets hurt, like McAvoy did at Four Nations last year. And, like, now you're sitting there and you're like, man, we already bought, like, we already made a big buy, and now our season's already gone south again. I guess, like, in theory, you could still sell some guys. I mean, you can maybe even turn around and trade away Andersson again. Like, that's happened a few times recently where teams acquire a guy in season and then end up trading him away, with Mikko Rantanen obviously being the most notable. But I don't know. Like I think if that's the cost is giving up the Bruins' own first round pick, I would just wait that one out. And if you miss out on Rasmus Andersson, you miss out on Rasmus Andersson. Like I said, I like him. For me, he's not like an absolute need to get him. This is like the missing piece for our next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't hate the idea of McAvoy Anderson on the right side for the next 5-6 years, but like, I think you could do a lot worse than that, right? But you know, the Bruins could possibly get a right shot defenseman in the draft this coming June, and he's NHL ready right away, depending on where that pick is and who it is. Like, you just never know. But anyway, I guess we'll put a pin in this for now. It was something that came up, and so because of the time crunch, the Olympics aren't too far away. This could drop. Something like this could happen at any moment's time. So we'd be remiss if we didn't spend some time on this when the Bruins name gets brought up.
I want to talk about, let's keep it with defense. I wanted to talk about something that Sturm said about Aspirot and McAvoy, that pair, if that's okay.
Bridget, you don't think I'm okay talking Jonathan Aspirot?
Right.
Any day of the week.
I'm just being polite,
Twice on Sunday. Let's talk Jonathan.
So Sturm in his comments, I think it was at practice this morning, said he was asked about Aspirot. I think it was Bell that asked the question, and how he's been able to become not just like, a regular defenseman, but a defenseman that can play on the top pair with McAvoy and not look like he's still just acclimating to the NHL. And Sturm said he not only feels like, he's acclimated, but that he actually gives McAvoy the ability to be himself, and McAvoy knows that he's like got his back and that he's going to be solid defensively, going to do his role the same way every night consistently. And you know who your partner is. And he's not an unpredictable player. So that gives McAvoy the ability to maybe get back into some of the old McAvoy ways of jumping into the offense, getting, up in the rush on a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1, or cycling a little bit lower in the zone, getting involved in the offense. Like there's a little bit more freedom that McAvoy might be able to have with Aspirot as his partner. And Sturm mentioned, like, normally McAvoy's the one covering for a younger guy. He's the veteran covering for a younger guy. Whereas in this case, it can be Aspirot covering for McAvoy, in that, you have a little bit more freedom to get a little bit further out of position if you're trying to jump into the offense or what have you.
Yeah, I think that's been noticeable. Like, McAvoy has been so much more involved in the rush, in the offensive zone. He's ended up below the goal line a couple times, around the net. And I think that's when he's at his best, is like when he can get in. And obviously you got to get out of your own zone, right? You got to get down to the offensive zone, spend time there for him to be involved. But that is when McAvoy looks like he's at his best to me. I think we've seen that quite a bit recently. I think this is another stretch here where you're starting to see him play really good hockey, similar to where he was before he broke his jaw up in Montreal. I thought he was playing really good hockey then. And like, that's kind of a telltale mark of it, is like, how much is he involved in the offensive zone? And it's been a lot recently. And I also think Sturm's probably maybe loosen that up a little bit too, because there were times early this year where it was like he was kind of telling defensemen, like, hey, you're the support. Like, we don't need you leading the rush. We don't need you low in the offensive zone. It's like he was kind of putting like some kind of like bumpers in place for them. And I think that was fine, for a team kind of getting used to a new system. But like, now that guys are starting to get it more, it's like, you want to take those training wheels off Charlie McAvoy. Like, let him go. He's a good enough player, a smart enough player to know when to go and when to sit back. And I think you have to put some level of trust in him to let him jump up more. And I think that's benefited the Bruins recently.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Aspirot gets back on D. Like, he allows Charlie to take those chances because Aspirot is flying back. I mean, and that's a good feeling to, like, for example, and this isn't to talk negatively about Lohrei, but it's like if McAvoy is making a rush up the ice and doesn't work out for him, and Lohrei is his partner, where's his confidence that, his back is going to be secured? And I think that Aspirot just allows that ability for McAvoy to the point you guys have been making, just kind of be more of himself.
When you think back to McAvoy's D partners too over the years, like, I think about like predictable D pair, like D partner versus unpredictable D partner, like Lohrei, unpredictable. Grzelcyk, somewhat unpredictable. They knew each other well, so the chemistry was there, but like I think Grzelcyk's play was sometimes inconsistent. So like put that into the unpredictable category. I think Nikita Zadorov is a predictable defenseman, and McAvoy knows exactly what a Zadorov style game is and what his partner's gonna be doing. And I think he feels that way about Aspirot, who does the same thing every night and kind of just steady. So I don't think there's any I think it's not a coincidence that his play has been looking the best this season when he's been with those guys that I would consider to be unpredictable defensive partners.
Yeah. And Scott, you're right to mention how he looks similar to how he did prior to getting hurt at Montreal, because I felt that same way. And it's good for Charlie knowing that the Olympics are on the corner too. He's playing some really good hockey, but
and I think I just said unpredictable, but I meant predictable. So just ignore me. He's better with the predictable defense.
No, I got you. We all understand.
And, I broadcast the entire day yesterday, and I'm fading fast here.
Bridget, you mentioned Zadorov, and I don't know if I know you were preoccupied with other work obligations, so I don't know if you caught this part of the game, but I was absolutely cackling. There was one play in particular where Zadorov got the puck in his own zone, and for some reason, like, both teams, Bruins players, Red Wings players, there was nobody to be seen up the middle of the ice, and Zadorov just took he saw the light down in the tunnel, and he just took off like a rocket, and like the whole crowd just like started to get a rise, and it was the funniest thing. And he just, like, his eyes just lit up, and he just took off. And I don't think you get a shot off. I think like maybe a defenseman from the Red Wings like recovered and maybe got a stick on it or something, but it was the funniest thing.
You tell me if you see Zadorov coming at you and he's had some time to wind up and get into full stride, do you want to stand in the way of that?
No, but it was just like the parting of the Red Seas. Like, it was, for some reason, nobody was in position. It just, this huge lane just opened up out of nowhere. It was just really funny. I don't know why. I thought it was hilarious.
He's had a couple of those, and he's gonna score on one of them, and the place is just gonna go nuts. He had another kind of funny play where he like carried into the zone and pulled up, and it was like clearly expected someone to close on him, and no one really did. And then he just like shot. It was like he didn't have a passing option. Guys, it's kind of sagged off. Like, he was just kind of standing there, and it was like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna shoot this. So yeah, a couple. Mark Kastelic also had a funny play where he was, I forget who he was chasing, one of the defensemen, who had just kind of like whacked him or thrown a hit or something, and Kastelic like chased after him and did the like the head fake, like, I'm gonna come hit you, and it was like way after the player had moved the puck.
Yeah,
and Kastelic just did like a head juke, like he was about to hit him, and then just skated to the bench.
I think it was Sider.
Sider. Obviously, there's some history there from the last meeting.
Yep, the last meeting in Boston.
Yeah.
Let's jump to the forwards if you guys don't mind, because we're 50 minutes in here, and we do have to mention some of the goal scoring that took place, right? So Pavel Zacha scores. That is now 5 straight games for the second line with a goal. 5 of Zacha's 13 5-5 points this year have come in the last 5 games. So he continues to improve upon a category we've been mentioning the last few weeks about him. And then Fraser Minten, again, a really, that shift, we can talk about that shift. I love that shift by a lot of those players. And Brick talked about it on the broadcast, but Husadinov with a very just mature, high percentage play to get the puck back into the corner when you have nothing there. And Pasternak with good puck protection beneath the goal line up high, gives it to McAvoy. McAvoy follows a shot and then has a fantastic pass over to Fraser Minten, who now has 8 points in his last 7 games, dating back to the Bruins snapping their winless streak against Edmonton. And Fraser Minten now has 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points on the season at 5-on-5. That's 7th on the Bruins. So again, a 21-year-old who is more built for his maturity and defensive ability. Just continuing to show that, hey, you know what? There's probably more there offensively from a ceiling perspective than maybe people thought there could have been with him.
I think that too. I think he was just on Behind the B this week. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I want to, of like going through his childhood room. Like when they went on the trip and they went up to Vancouver, they followed him to his home, his parents' house, and looked at some of the stuff. And he's got all of his accomplishments on the wall, and it's kind of interesting to look at. But he had the Bruins jersey over top of the Toronto jersey, which was like signed because he was drafted to Toronto. So it was the jersey he got on draft day. And it was like, his draft pick and everything. And then the Bruins jersey's over top of it, so you can't even see it anymore. Was kind of funny, but no, he's been great. And Sturm had an interesting quote too. Like he said that the Vancouver game was like his coming out party. Like obviously one of his best, probably his best game so far. And then he had a really, like, the next game was his worst game so far, Sturm thought. He like hit a high and then he like crashed and hit a low, but then he rebounded right back. And then you've seen the last few games, he's been right back in the mix. Obviously had 2 goals in that massive 10-2 win over the Rangers, and still didn't even get a start for that, but and then he scores again this game, and he's been good. And I think if you take that one anomaly game out of the last stretch, you got to feel really good about him, like not just like heading in this direction, but like he jumped in that direction. Like he jumped upwards, not just like a slow and steady. I feel like he was slow and steady earlier in the season, and then we just saw like a more of a rapid growth the last 2 weeks.
It's fun. Like you're right, but like he doesn't feel that way, because I asked him about it after the game last night. Like, do you feel like you've taken a jump offensively the last couple of weeks? And his answer is basically like, if you look at the production, yes, but he said like, I don't feel like I'm really doing anything different. Like he's still just trying to do the same things that he was doing and just building on and being more consistent with it. But like it's paying off now. And part of it is he's been in more offensive situations. Like he's been on a line with David Pastrnak for some of these games. He's been on the power play more. So yeah. So it's like, yeah, he's finding, he might be doing things the same, but like those things earned him more offensive opportunities in the eyes of his coaching staff. So now, yes, it's translating to more production because he's in more favorable spots. So yeah, I think it does get like, all along it's like it's always the conversation with Minten has always been basically the floor is like he's a good third line center, and I think he's already shown that this season. But now when you see this offense start to tick up, it does allow you to think about like, okay, like what could his ceiling be? The floor's already been established. Good third line center. He's already that at 21 years old. Now it's like, what's the ceiling? Like I still don't think there's true like 1C offense there, but it's not crazy to dream about like a long-term top 2 centers of Hagens and Minten. Like he could be a second liner. Again, like we don't want to rush too far ahead, but you see a stretch like this, it does allow you to start thinking about that.
Can I ask a question too? Obviously, any line with Pastrnak, you hesitate to call it a third line, but like we call it that because that's 3C, like that's who was 3C. So Pasternak's playing with Minten. He was the third center, whatever. But do you think that Minten, and this might just be a case where no matter who Pasternak plays with, he kind of still able to do his thing. But do you think who do you think the best combo is with Pasternak this season? Like, are we looking at Minten and him like about to go off and like they're doing really well together so much so that you can't break them up? Or do you think he still has a better, like, who's the best fit with Pasternak? Or does it not even matter because he's good no matter where you put him?
I mean, he's probably good wherever. And like Storm has, he's gone away from that the last couple of games. Now that they still ended up with some shifts together, including that goal, but like, that they weren't on the line most of the game Tuesday.
Question more has to do with who do you think is the best combo with Pasta?
Can I just you guys are gonna think I'm being biased here. I've really liked Husnudinov with him. Husnudinov wins a lot of pucks for people. He also pressures defenders, and he just causes a lot of turnovers and havoc. And listen, obviously they haven't had the runway or they don't have the long history of time together. So I'm not going to sit here and say, Husnudinov and Pasternak is better than Pasternak and Zacha or Pasternak and Geekie or hell, even Elias Lindholm. But, I can certainly, I just feel like Husnudinov is a creative player. And right now he's causing a lot of problems for defenders and opposing forwards in their D zone, trying to break the puck out. So I think whether it's Husnudinov or anybody else, Pasternak playing with somebody who can help create offensive zone turnovers is a very, very good player to have with him. So whether it's Marat or somebody else, I like that type of player.
And the good news is like he's been playing wing too. So like you can have Husnudinov and one of those other guys.
All right. If your question more so meant a center specifically, then yeah, I guess yeah, I don't that's the problem too, because so many of these forwards play both. Like technically Geekie can play center. We know Zacha can play center and wing. Lindholm's like the only one that's like he plays center and only center, really. Even Minten, who has been majority center, like he can probably play the wing too. So I don't know. I don't think anybody's ran with it. I don't think any like center has ran with Pasternak where it's like, oh man, like he's clearly the best match with him. I'm sure somebody has more like under the hood numbers that you can give the answer to, but like there's nobody at center where I'm like, oh yeah, like him and Pasta, like you can't take him away from him.
Well, I have those numbers if you guys want them and see if that affects your opinion. So I'll go through the 5 players, the 5 forwards that Pasternak has played with the most this season. So number 1 is this is just 5-on-5. Number 1 is Morgan Geekie, 327 minutes. In those minutes, Bruins have scored 15 goals and given up 16. So a -1. Number 2 is Elias Lindholm, 300 minutes together. Bruins have scored 14, given up 15. So also a -1. Third most common line mate, Marat Husnudinov, 252 minutes together. Bruins have scored 19 goals, given up 8, plus 11.
There you go.
Fraser Minten, his fourth most common line mate, 103 minutes. Bruins have scored 10 goals, given up 2, plus 8. And then Pavel Zacha is 5th, and the Bruins have been outscored 8-4 when they've been together.
That doesn't feel like they've done that much this year, though.
I got some like you can't see it. I honestly have some waterworks that are trying to work their way through. When I heard that Husnudinov stat, good for him, unbelievable.
So like that Husnudinov Minten Pasternak line.
That's a good amount of minutes. That's a good sample size.
Yeah.
But if you have Husnudinov, Minten, and Pasternak together, like those advanced stats or that's not even advanced stats, but those goal differential stats are very positive for that combination.
Yeah, but I'll be honest. Like if you have Pasternak with Husnudinov, I don't think you need Minten there because he can provide to somebody else. I think honestly, the way their lines are kind of cooking right now, it's kind of similar. Like this is kind of their thought process. Like they have, and you could always put anybody with anybody else for a couple of shifts here and there. Like I feel like they went for Pasternak, Minten, and Hustinov last game for a shift or two. Maybe it was due to special teams play around there. I don't really remember. But I like the idea of right now, Geekie. Oh, we haven't even touched on Geekie, by the way. He had a kid. That's why he missed the Penguins game and got pulled from the Rangers game. Him and his wife had a baby boy. I believe his name is Max. So congratulations to them, and good to know that he was missing due to happy family news instead of the alternative. So
and
it's coming.
She
for
was
him
at
too.
the game. She was at the game and had to leave the game.
Yeah.
And so he had to leave the game, and everybody left because there was a little bit of an early delivery. So
he looks like he's about to break through soon. He looks like he's about to get on a score sheet soon.
Rang the crossbar last night.
Yeah, I think it's
rocket
coming for
of a
him.
one-timer.
I think it's coming for him.
Yeah,
he had a breakaway, or kind of half a breakaway.
Great save too.
Got robbed by the glove. Yeah,
hell of a save.
That both goalies were flashing the leather last night. I was like thinking of it at some point, probably in the third period. I was like, it's been a lot of really good glove saves in this game.
Yeah,
and I thought Cam Talbot really windmilled on a couple, and I was like, I feel like Swayman, Swayman's got to really flash a couple. Like he kind of let Talbot get the better of the windmilling,
which is just for flair.
So. Yeah, you got to show those off.
Yeah, just pizzazz. But we also should mention Hampus Lindholm skated today, red shirt, no contact jersey. Update on him was that he won't play against Seattle. And Sturm said we'll check in next week, which means maybe, I don't know if he's going to travel, because after Seattle, the Bruins have 2 road games, and then they come back early next week and play at home again. So to me, it sounds like we're kind of counting out the next at least 2 games. I don't know, Scott, how you feel about what Sturm said.
Yeah, I will say he's probably going to travel no matter what, because this upcoming trip is their siblings trip to Chicago and Dallas. Definitely. So I think everyone's going to go on this regardless, unless someone literally can't travel. So that might not mean a ton. It won't necessarily mean that he's going to play in one of those games, but but it's good that he's on the ice with the team, because Sturm said, that was the next step, and they wanted to have him out there a few times. So, at least there's at least been progress, and he's making that next step.
What about Jordan Harris? Is he on the way back?
Yeah, so he skated at morning skate Tuesday. That was the first time he had rejoined the team. We talked to him after. He said he's still not sure really when he's going to be game ready. Like there's still a couple steps and things he's going to have to check off. But obviously that was, just getting back on the team after so much time off. I mean, that was, late October that he suffered that fractured ankle. That's been a lot of time missed. And he acknowledged it was a pretty tough rehab at times where, he said he didn't really say there was any setbacks, but it kind of ebbed and flowed a bit where, there'd be times he thought he was maybe a little ahead, and then, he'd have a rough few days. So, that's obviously been a long recovery and, tough injury, but good to see him back there. It was funny. He was on PK drills. They were doing special teams work, and Pasternak took a wrist shot. So not a one-timer that I don't know if it caught Harris on the same leg or ankle, but he blocked it off the leg, and Pasternak's laughing. Swayman came out and hugged him, and it was kind of the hey, you're gonna have to test it at some point type of moment.
Yeah, he was playing well too. That was tough to see him go down, because I thought he was playing some good hockey. There was a time when the Bruins were going through some rough waters in October, and I thought he was one of the brighter spots for them at times. But exactly. He's gonna have to take some shots and hits at some point here. Speaking of defense, Bridget, I know you wanted to mention this off the top. I think we got sidetracked, but
very much, yes.
Would you like to do the honors? And and mention what's going on Thursday?
I was hoping we mentioned this early just because it's an exciting night coming up against Seattle tomorrow night. They're going to do a whole red carpet. There's going to be a whole event surrounding Zdeno Chara's jersey retirement, which is going to happen tomorrow. And so a lot of his former teammates are already back in town. I saw that was there a game that they all played together today or this week at some point?
Over the weekend on Saturday.
Yeah.
They had a game at Warrior to raise money for for soldiers.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of Chara's former teammates, Bruins greats, are back in town for that. So they're all going to be part of the red carpet. Scott, you had the list of
the
people
gold carpet, Bridget?
Oh, the gold carpet. I forgot. My bad. I said gold carpet the first time, but yeah, so obviously like Bergeron, Tuukka, those guys are already around, but did you say Tim Thomas was going to be back or
Tim Thomas is around. I've seen a bunch of them were at the game. Well, Saturday and yesterday. I don't know about Sunday because I wasn't there, but like I've seen a bunch of them around the Garden. They've like you said, like they've been in since the weekend. Mark Recchi, Dennis Seidenberg, Adam McQuaid, obviously, who works for the Bruins.
Is David Krejci around? I wonder.
I have not seen Krejci yet.
Paille, Kevin Miller.
Yeah, Danny Paille, Kevin Miller.
Ferentz.
Yeah. Ferentz is emceeing it, so that should be interesting.
Get your bleep button ready.
Yeah, he's running the ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
Ferentz did a podcast last year for Nesson, didn't he? Or no, that was a centennial season.
Yeah, the centennial year.
That was good.
Yeah,
that was good. It would be nice to hear some former Bruins more in the media. It's you don't really they're a quiet bunch. That 2011 team, they're kind of a quiet bunch, which I don't blame them. You live your life.
Besides Brad Marchand. But
well, yeah, Marchand, he'll be on a panel. He'll be on a panel on TV.
Oh yeah, no,
the second he retires.
My dream is one day to be a broadcast partner with Brad Marchand because that would be the best time. That would be great.
Yeah.
I think Marchand strikes me a lot more as studio guy than color commentator.
I want him to be as unhinged and unfiltered for an entire game broadcast as a color commentator.
I mean, you think about the guys that we just rattled off. I don't know hockey players or anybody else out there, former hockey players, any other profession. I don't know if you can name 4 or 5 quieter individuals than Chris Kelly, Dan Paille, Adam McQuaid,
Chara himself is
Kevin Miller, Chara. They are quiet individuals. They are not even Seidenberg. He was always a quiet guy. So when Patrice Bergeron and Tuukka Rask are probably the most louder, outgoing players of a bunch. That's telling you something. But hey, they're all champions, though.
It was funny. We were leaving the locker room Tuesday night after media availability and like walking down the hall back to the media workroom and had to make way because there's like 3 people coming through pushing a cart, and on it is a big round thing all covered with a 33 on the front. And it's like, I wonder what that is. So that was getting the number ready to go up.
Yeah, what a cool moment. Did one of you guys mention what time the ceremony starts for people if people are going to the game, what time they should get to their seats and whatnot?
Yeah, so they are encouraging people to be in their seats by 6:10. The ceremony is scheduled to start at 6:20 Thursday night. So
there you go.
6:20 ceremony. They'll do all that, and then warm-ups and everything will be afterwards. Puck drop 8:00.
That's awesome. These nights don't come along very often. I mean, and you look up at the rafters and see the numbers that are there. Yeah, some of the all-time greatest players to ever lace up the skates, not just in Boston history, but in the league history. So it's
we're gonna be sitting right in front of it. I don't know if I guess maybe like to give people like a little tip like on if they haven't bought tickets yet and they're still trying to go. The side where the away team shoots twice is where the banner goes up. So it's not the side the Bruins shoot twice. It's the side the away team shoots twice. Oh gosh, now I can't remember what the section and number even is at that end zone, but I'm sure you can figure it out. But yeah, because that's the side that the retired numbers are for the Bruins.
So you get 33 tomorrow, 37 rather. Probably next in line in time at some point, and then way down the line we'll have 92 and 45 going up there at some point as well. So be sure to be there for those
skip
nights.
over 88.
Yeah, no, 88 will be up there, but right there next to 92, and 45 will be there too. So looking forward to those nights.
What about 93? Is the whole line going up?
Yeah, 93 should be up there. Hey, 91.
Kids line.
Zadorov will be up there next to him too. 91.
Perfect. Nobody ever gonna be able to wear those numbers again. No, all the 90s are taken. But yeah, I'm just glad it's falling on Thursday and it's not on Tuesday, because I wouldn't be able to, like, this past Tuesday, like yesterday. Because I wouldn't have been able to do it. So if it was a game earlier, that would have been bad. But
yeah, because Bridget had women's beanpot, and I gotta mention, BU Terriers, pretty big win, knocking out Northeastern. How many in a row had Northeastern won?
3 in a row.
Yeah,
they were hoping for 4, but yeah. So BU beat them in the Hockey East Championship game last year. And then they beat them in the opening round of the Beanpot this year. So BU is going to the championship game against Harvard, which should be a favorable matchup. They did just beat Harvard in Northern Ireland in the Bellpot. So hoping to repeat that. The Bellpot in Belfast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
This is a trip that I tried to sneak my way onto so hard and got denied. So, which was mentioned on the broadcast. It's like, well, I didn't get to go to Ireland, but yeah, so they went to Northern Ireland for that, and yeah, hoping for a good turnout and a good broadcast on Tuesday. So I think we're on Nesson until the Bruins start, and then we're on Nesson Plus during the Bruins. So unfortunately, there's a conflict there. Bruins on the road, and obviously because the games are at TD Garden, so they're going to be at home. But
can I ask you guys?
It's my 3rd in a row. I've done all 3 at TD Garden. So,
can I ask you guys a question? This is not random because we were just talking about Chara, but kind of random. Are you surprised as to the game they selected to do this? A Thursday night game against Seattle? That seems kind of random, no? Like, what do you think goes into the planning process for this? Hey guys, when should we raise Z's number? How about Thursday, January 15th against the Seattle Kraken? Like, why not do maybe it's about player Chara availability, or I don't know. What goes into that, do you think?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Should have done that Rangers game.
Well, you know what? Yeah, maybe a nice weekend game against maybe an older team.
I think there's a couple of things. So, specifically to this time of year, maybe you stay away from the weekends because you don't want to risk going up against a Patriots playoff game. You probably don't want to do later in the season because, God forbid your season goes sideways. You don't want this game late last March after trading away everyone, right? You don't want that. So it has to be relatively early in the season. It probably had to be before the Olympic break. Like I said, maybe you stay away from NFL playoffs. I don't know. I don't know why it couldn't have been November or December.
Was Seattle even in the league when Chara retired? I think their inaugural season was right after he left.
He was still in the league.
Was he?
Yeah, I wonder if he was still on the Bruins.
No, he would have been. He would have been maybe, if anything, he would have been on the island probably at that point. Maybe Washington, but I don't think so. I think Washington was that shortened season after COVID.
When was Kraken's first season was 2021.
I think Chara was with the Islanders in 2021, 2022 season. I The year the Bruins
Yeah.
lost to the
Yeah, so
Hurricanes.
his last season was their first season.
Okay.
Also, just putting it out there, if we're talking about strictly keeping it to a Thursday in January, the next Thursday game is at home. They have four home Thursday games in the month. First one was the Calgary game, then Seattle tomorrow, then Vegas, and then Philly. So
yeah, they got a lot of Tuesday, Thursday, weekday schedules like the rest of the season. I think honestly, almost every week for the remainder of the season for the Bruins, besides like maybe 2, I think it's like Tuesday. You can set your calendar Tuesday, Thursday night during the week, and then the weekends are obviously kind of all over the place. But anyway, all right. Any final thoughts from the two of you before we sign out?
Nah, I got nothing. No, I'm good.
He thinks for 30 seconds and then I got nothing. I'm good. Bridget, you good?
I'm good.
All righty. Thank you all very much for listening. Enjoy Zdeno Chara's ban of retirement Thursday night as the Bruins play the Seattle Kraken, and we'll be back to talk to you all Friday morning. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Skate Podcast. If you want to see more of our videos, visit our playlist.
Not in front of a screen? You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment.